Yo, what's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Pwny Montana, and today we're back with another episode of ITE Inside the Empire with the three-time Steelers Club champion Deliverance. How you doing, my man?
Hey, Pony, I'm doing good, brother. Doing good. Excited to be on the podcast, man. Looking forward to it.
It is good to have you here. Congratulations on your third victory.
Much appreciated.
It's a feat. You're up there with some. You're up there with some goons right now, man, and that's something that a lot of people can't say.
No doubt, no doubt.
How you feeling about that? How you feeling about clubs in general? Like, because you have the big tournament in what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, not even coming up in I head out like Monday night, so a couple days here really. So, but yeah, I mean, it feels good. I mean, obviously, like you said, man, there's only a couple people that's done it, so it definitely feels good, man. I mean, obviously, we know how hard it is to even make a live event, let alone win a couple like club series. So it's a good feeling, man.
Who's that list? It's what you. It's you, Dreamy,
Me, Joke, and
Pavin.
Pavon.
Oh no,
Well, yeah,
Dreamy
Dreamy
did it in 3 different ones, right? But still, man,
Yeah,
that's bro. Those are like top. Those are like literally like the top guys that are there during every tournament.
It is definitely.
Now, I kind of had to ask about that because like you always pop up in club series. So what's happening in the other tournaments? Because it's like you always do good in clubs. You always fight back in clubs. You clearly you're the 3-time. You're one of the 3 times.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I guess you definitely have a point. Obviously, first of all, speaking for the Classic, this is my first year I've ever gone to the Classic. So as far as not popping up in those, that I typically just haven't traveled to those in the past. Now, going forward to like the Mutt Draft tournament, it's one that I've always made a decent run in. I just haven't. I've always come like a round or two before getting out of that single limb, So I know last year I ran into Fancy in like round 2, and like obviously we know, with that crew being as kind of creative as they are, things like Mutt Draft kind of suit their style. But yeah, man, I mean it's just one of those things. I think with Club Series, the salary cap, obviously we know the modes play different, and then if you consider when Club Series is, it's kind of near that beginning to middle part of the Madden season. I think before everything is kind of known, everything's out there by that time, every person's running the same thing in weekend league. Like there's a little bit more originality, before people just totally have the bag for everything. So I think that's got a little bit to do with it too.
Yeah, like the meta's completely out and stuff like that. But it's just weird because it's like you are the 3-time, and it's like we haven't seen your name in any other tournament, and that's like that's honestly one of the reasons where it's like, oh, Deliverance isn't winning this club, because they've said it all 3 years. They said Joel was winning it this time. They said Chaos was winning it last year. I think it was that you were playing. Like you just still. Do you think this kind of put like a lot more respect on your name simply because it's such a hard thing to do? Like winning your club is hard in general, but then going 3 times in a row, that's insane. That's amazing, bro.
Yeah, no, and I think you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, kind of like I said it in my interview, on stream, is that's kind of one of the things I wanted to do, is really get that respect on my name, especially if you consider, some of the names that have been in it in the past years. I mean, in Madden 18, I had to beat Tony. I had to beat young Tony. To clinch it that year.
I didn't even know that. And Tony's been held for forever, dude.
It was Tony and Krill. Tony and Krill were in there, and then there was another dude. His name, I mean, he went by like some random name I couldn't even recall. He kind of just he's like, hey, I played weekend league. I got an invite. I didn't even know what I was getting invited to. So, but Krill and Tony obviously tough, and then looking at last year, going through chaos. Lawrence showed out in that one. Ish is usually always a consistent player, never a free pass. So
yeah, that's true.
Then going forward to this year, I mean, we were considered one of the tougher clubs on the circuit. So, being able to do that, I mean, definitely, I think it definitely did put a little respect on my name, even if, kind of like you said, I haven't popped up in the other tournaments. I think it's hard to argue with the 3P,
Well, how do you prepare for that? For these tournaments, like everybody has like a bunch of people in their crew that they grind with, they lab with and stuff like that. Like who do you play with? Like I feel like you're just like roaming around.
So yeah, no, I mean, and honestly, you're not exactly wrong. Well, first of all, in Madden 18, I mean, that was just me. There was no crew. I've never had a crew. I was always one of those people that was like, oh, you got these crews out here. They copy each other. Like I kind of had some pride in doing it on my own, but then as I got more involved with the Madden circuit, I did see the benefits to it. The guys in my crew that we're so that's Bronco. It's Madden Bronco, Problem Child, who was Final Four of the Cincinnati, indefinite champ. John Johnson, real smart guy, real smart guy.
Okay.
So those are kind of the main guys in the crew. And so what we do, we don't really lab a lot against each other, but we kind of bounce ideas off each other. It'll be like, hey, I found this, like, check this out. I think this works. And then this year more than others, I did lab. Whereas in the past, like when RG would be interviewing me and things like, hey, how do you prepare Deliverance? Like, and my answer was always play as many games on the ladder as you can, because I always felt like the more you see, the more variety you see, like, how to adjust. So that way, when it comes time for a live event, there's not going to be anything in there that's going to surprise you.
Yeah.
So that was always my personal feeling and kind of advice.
I spoke on this before because I know Skimbo kind of does the same thing. Like, Skimbo doesn't turn down labbing with anybody apparently, because it's like he wants as many looks from as many different things as possible, because you never know what you're gonna see at a tournament. Like, you 100%. Never know. Like, no 100%. One knew that Joel was coming out. Well, I mean, yeah, maybe because I think he might have ran his scheme on stream, but like not a lot of people are gonna expect like, oh, hey, this person's gonna come out in doubles. Like, that's just not something. That's just not something that people do. Like, you're expecting 8 runners in every club this year, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, no. I mean, you're 100% right. And then, like I said, this year, the more and more I'm getting into the comp scene, you know what I mean? I've learned those benefits. Like, this year, I played a couple games against the TNC guys leading up the clubs, and like, it really opens up kind of your mind as a Madden player, because you'll kind of take and steal a couple things. Like, hey, like, I saw that he was doing this. Like, let me try to set my defense up that way real quick, and then, oh, okay, that works, and then you kind of adapt it on your own. So the run D and things like actually something I got in a game I was playing with J-Wall a couple games before the club series. So if it wasn't for, who knows what would have happened. So definitely benefit in getting those games in with some of those other kids out in the circuit.
You always find some things like when it's least expected. I know when I like one of the years that I think it was like 2 years ago when I made the Bills Club, I was watching Kiv play, and I was in the West Coast playbook, and I was in the West Coast playbook, but I was running a play that I'd never ran because I seen Kiv run it. And it was literally like a crucial down. I think I was only up by like 4 points, and I ended up throwing like a dot at the end of the game with literally the play that Kiv was running. And I'm like, thank God I watched this goddamn stream, because
exactly. It just opens it up.
I wouldn't have been there, bro.
Yeah, it opens up. It just opens up that that's something to keep in your back pocket. Especially I feel like when you make runs into these live events and things like that, you gotta have something up your sleeve. You know what I mean? Definitely something.
Definitely. All right, now like. It's got to be a good feeling, because I believe it's only like 3-4 people like that actually have like a known significant other within the Madden community that are actually good at the game. I believe it's just me, you, Drag, and I believe there's one more person, but like, oh, and User. Like, those are the people that are like everybody knows. How's it feel to have somebody supporting you like that? Because I know she made it out to the club championship, which was dope as hell.
Right.
That's
right.
That's amazing that she showed up. Like, that's awesome.
Oh, for sure, man, dude. She's the GOAT. The funny thing about her, her background, she's she's Dominican, and she lived half her life over there in DR. So it's actually funny because, when she first started dating me like 2.5 years ago, she really had no exposure to American football. So it's been the coolest thing to see her just totally be all about it. Like I said, I was telling RG in the interview before clubs, I'm like, she's playing backseat quarterback to me half the time. She's like, why didn't you throw B on that play? Why didn't you, but she totally gets it now. So now when we're watching Steelers games together, like, she understands the concept. And then obviously, for her to be willing to, like, obviously this takes time to do. Even though I work full time and stuff, I'm grinding Madden, pretty much from the time I come home to work, and, I'll go to the gym here and there, and then, the rest of the night I'm back on the game here and there. So when you have someone that supports you and, like, doesn't make you feel as if you're doing something wrong by playing, like, it kind of, like, you could focus on it even more and kind of just relax with it. And then obviously having someone to come to the events with you and stuff, and have someone, to talk to in the hotel room just to take your mind even off things, you know what I mean, and not be so uber focused on it. Obviously that just means the best, because, we've all, I think at one point in our life, we probably had a girlfriend somewhere along the way that was like, don't play video games,
dude,
like all that type of stuff.
Me, like, I've had friends that, because like my girl's like super understanding. She'll sit there and be like, you're trash because I make a bad read and shit like that. But right. I've had buddies who, like, if they play the game for like an hour, their girlfriends are like spazzing out, dude. Like
Right.
it's bad to where like it seems like it's like controlling and shit like that. So
For
like,
sure.
dude, like honestly, like we're lucky as hell because my girl actually edits my videos now, which is like,
Oh, that's dope.
which is like amazing to me. Cause like
Oh, hell yeah.
there's no other girl in the world to me that's gonna sit there and be like, yeah, I'll edit your YouTube videos.
For
Like,
sure.
that shit's
That's dope.
crazy. Now you spoke about your job. What is it that you do exactly? Because a
Yeah,
lot of
so
people
I'm,
don't know.
Right, 100%. Yeah, and what I get a lot too is, okay, so my job title, I'm a school psychologist. Okay, so a lot of people say, oh, so what are you, like a counselor? Are you like a teacher? Like, no, they don't quite understand. So to put it in a nutshell, essentially what I do is I help to figure out why kids are struggling in school. So basically, I'm diagnosing learning disabilities, things like autism, ADHD, anything like that. I'm basically doing different assessments. I'm doing IQ tests. I'm doing like academic achievement tests. I'm doing like rating scales, and I'm kind of compiling that information, writing a report, and basically presenting those results to the school team and the parents, and trying to come up with basically what the best setting is for the kid. Maybe if they need a special program. So that's essentially in a nutshell what I'm doing. I'm basically helping diagnose learning problems, which can range from just learning disabilities all the way to things like autism, intellectual disabilities, and everything in between.
That's actually like wicked dope.
Yeah, I love my job, man, and it's hard to imagine anything else. Especially you get spoiled with the school system calendar, man. You get spoiled with that big time. You get the holidays off, summers. It'd be hard to think about it going to a normal 9 to 5,
Soccer's in the chat saying now I understand why he blocked me because I said he has autism. Is
Right,
that true?
well, yeah, I mean, I don't recall
it's,
if that was the name itself, but I definitely have. I've definitely blocked people for comments like that.
yeah, because
obviously.
like it's definitely like a sensitive subject because you definitely don't know like how other, especially like parents and stuff like that, how they react to something like their
For
child
sure.
having autism, because there's like severe cases and it's
Absolutely.
like that shit
Yeah,
is
and
like,
and listen, man, I'm not sitting here judging people. Like, when you're in the profession, you become more aware of these things. But listen, man, like who growing up didn't say things like, "Oh man, that's retarded." This is, you know what I mean. But
yeah, exactly.
you become more aware of it the more you work with it, and then when you get to know the kids, you know what I mean. So, I'm not going to sit there and call someone a terrible person at the end of the day. But it's kind of like, hey, don't say that, learn from it, and then we'll go from there. So whatever. But yeah, that sounds familiar. I've definitely blocked someone. I've definitely blocked someone for comments like that.
Unblock him, Deliverance. Unblock him.
All right.
Man. All right,
I
now
got you. I have to go through my block list.
listen. I'm not gonna pocket check you because I don't like that's not something that I do. But how is
Sure.
it being signed to the Pittsburgh Knights, dude?
Yeah, I mean, listen, man, it's not. Listen, I'll sit there and tell you, I'm not sitting here getting any type of monthly salary, anything like that. It's about the exposure, the experiences, and the biggest thing is them helping pay for travel. That was the big reason why I signed with them. In the past, I was with a couple people like Calamity Crew and then like Elevate for a little bit, and things like that. And it was just like when it came time for a Madden Classic or something, it was like, oh, we don't have the funding, or it's like, okay, well, you made me these promises, this and that. So to be with a crew like the Pittsburgh Knights and obviously having that Pittsburgh tie, because when I was up at the Club Series last year, back when it was actually at, right across from Heinz Field, I had met Leonix, who at the time was one of the head dudes of the company, and introduced himself and kind of explained, hey, this and that. And a couple months later, I see, it's on Bleacher Report, it's on NFL.com, like Pittsburgh buys into an esport company, and like I was like, oh my god, like this is like, this is the perfect fit. Like I got to reach out and get these guys into Madden, and then sure enough, it works out. And I mean, so I'm doing things like, bro, I played Ryan Shazier up at training camp this year,
Which is
I got
amazing.
Yeah, I got a signed jersey from Joe Hayden. Like I'm getting, I got pictures with Marquise Pouncey, Terrell Edmonds, Benny Snell. Like, so that was just like, I mean, my God, I was like a kid in the candy shop.
Bro, that's
that's like a
fan's
dream,
bro. Oh my god, dude.
Yeah, so that's really the avenue that it opens. If anything, that's really what the Knights do. They're totally on board. They're putting out tweets about social media when I'm playing. So I mean, and that's what it's all about. When you're with an org, it's all about to bring you both to the next level. I feel like, and so
they were also in the chat while you were playing, just spamming the emote. Like
I did. I saw
emote.
that.
Like
when
they just kept on going, bro. They just kept on going.
That was great. I watched it back. Yeah. So they're super supportive. They're all professional, like from bottom level to top level. I mean, everyone in the organization, they're trying to grow themselves, man, and they're going about it the right way. So it's awesome to be a part of an organization like that. 100%. I can't say.
Okay, so question about like being signed and stuff like that. Why do you think specifically? Because you're actually signed. You've been signed for how long?
I think I officially signed it. It was probably beginning of August, maybe late July, like right before the Madden season started. I think is when we put it into effect.
Okay, well, why do you think that more esport teams don't look at Madden like that? Like
I
as
think, well, to be honest with you, I'm gonna give you some inside perspective on the Knights themselves, and I think this is what's happening with a lot of organizations. They actually, the Knights were surprised when I told them like what the prize pool was and things like that. Like when I'm like, hey, I just made it to this tournament, and oh, by the way, if I win, I'd get like 100K. They're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. They kind of like they took a step back for a minute, like, oh, I didn't have any idea that there's actually this much money in it. And you know what I mean? So I really think some of it is really, and I think what we complain about as a Madden community is exposure. I just don't think there's a lot of organizations that know about it. And then obviously it is isolated. You know, this is the only American football game, which I think is beneficial in a way because that's the way we get our fix. You know,
yeah.
it's the most popular sport. But I think it's just one of those things. It's like, you know, it is isolated to football. It's not something like Fortnite where you got kids from ages like, you know, 5 all the way up to like 50 that are playing this thing, and then it kind of has more of a broad reach. You know, it is kind of geared towards just, that kind of sport mindset, that football mindset. So I think it's a little, it's just a couple things at play, but I think the biggest thing is really just exposure. I think some of them are just unaware of kind of what these things look like, what the broadcasts look like, the sponsors that are involved, So I just think it's kind of one of those type of things. I just think it's, but the more and more people we get, it's going to grow.
Because like the past few tournaments, like I know like EA's been sponsored by specific like actually like brands. Like I know like when they had that tournament during the summer, like I believe Starbucks was in it. The Classic was sponsored by Starbucks, and it's like these are things that people can look at and be like, wow, like we could actually make money off of this.
Exactly, and like so when you're watching these broadcasts, I mean, these are legitimate commercials. Like, you know what I mean? Like for the Starbucks Nitro brews and like, Snickers, like all these type of things, man. Like I mean, it's like it's just like you're watching a football game on TV. Like it cuts the commercial break. So I think when people kind of realize, okay, we got, because some of these tournaments it varies, but like some of them get up to like 20K viewers and even more depending on what tournament and stuff. But then I think companies, if they see like how clean everything looks, are like, oh, this is actually a potential opportunity for us. So. But once again, I think it just comes down to the exposure of it. You know what I mean? Like they don't necessarily know about it. If they did, I think there'd be a lot more companies willing to buy in.
Dude, because the production value from EA, it seems like it's pretty top notch. Do you know what I mean? Like
100%.
It's not even like a question about like it being professional, but it's like it's just weird because I've Madden's been on the scene for years now. I mean, I know the MCS has only been here for like 3-4 years, but
right,
like. It's still like one of those things where it's like, man, it's like I wish that Madden was bigger because of the more exposure, obviously. Because there's guys, young Kiv. How is Kiv not signed to an actual, like a big esport? That
exactly.
Makes, like he's somebody who's always kept his nose clean and he's literally always been one of the best. Like Blocky,
100%.
Like, it's just like those type of people that are. It confuses me that they're not signed yet.
Yeah, and you know what? And I think playing devil's advocate here, if you want to go on the other side of the organization, so obviously the organizations need to take initiative and like want to get involved in things like that. But at the same time, the players need to have correct expectations too. You know what I'm saying?
That's
like,
true.
I think that's a big problem in the past. I know in the past I've talked to people like Goes, like that were getting offers and things like that, and they would reach out to me and ask me, hey, what does your organization give you? And I'm like, well, I'm not really getting a salary. They're just going to pay for travel. And it's kind of like, oh, well, no, screw that. Like I expect like kind of like a monthly salary. And so it's kind of, you got to kind of weigh your expectations at the same times too. And like I said, I really think the most important thing, because for me in the past couple of years, the reason I never made something like Ultimate League or things like that was really just lack of wanting to pay my own money to go fly to different tournaments and things like that.
Yeah.
So by being signed with somebody like the Knights, who's going to totally take care of that, you know what I mean? And it's not even a question, that, hey, I can go to X, Y, and Z tournament and like my travel and stuff's going to be covered and I can just get to go and ball out and accrue more points and things like that. Like that was the whole logic behind it for me. I'm like, if they could send me to 1 or 2 extra tournaments per year, like pick up a couple extra MCS points, like that could be the difference in making even more money at, end of the year and things like that. So I think that's another piece to it, is kind of the expectations of the players.
Yeah, because that's huge. Because I know missing the Classic, bro, you miss out on so many points. Like once you miss that, like that's it pretty much. Like you either have to make a run in clubs, like you have to make a deep run, like you have to make the finals of another club to even have a chance to make it. But like the Classic literally puts you on it puts you on the board. Like I know like who's somebody that made the Classic that didn't win their club. that probably is still gonna eventually make it. Kiv.
Well, I mean, Kiv, Mo. You can look at Mo, who even won the classic. Like he didn't make a club, you know what I mean? But people. But yeah, if you're talking those more medium range, you know what I mean? There's plenty of names that were there that, you know what I mean, maybe made a deepish type of run in the classic, or maybe not so much. But then it's like, yeah, you kind of have to rely on clubs and things like that. I mean, you know, so yeah, you're 100% right, especially last year. Last year, I really think EA kind of, they messed up the MCS totals because the Classic was giving out more points than like even the Club Series, which was wild because you're basically paying for MCS points in a way, you know what I mean, with the way it was situated last year. But this year they kind of made it a little more evened out between Classic and Clubs. But you're 100% right.
Do you think Clubs gets a little oversaturated with how many people are actually playing in it?
What do you mean by oversaturated? Like just like how many people?
Yeah,
or?
like what? Like because you it kind of. So like you only have like a specific number of points that you can give each person for making their tournaments.
Gotcha.
You know, and it's like if there's 128 people making it, it's like how is it that that we're supposed to sit there and like earn points if you're giving them out to 128 people that make just the online portion? You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I mean, you know, the interesting thing about that though is that this is one of those tournaments that we all say it gives a chance to like, I feel like because it kind of includes more people, there's more chances for unknown names and things like that to kind of make a push, kind of the way the format's set up and things like that. So yeah, I mean, even though there's a bunch of people getting points, I mean, I still think it's relatively okay because you're not really making major points until, you know what I mean, you're doing things like making top 32 and then even making like a further push into it. So although you are getting points in all reality, just, you know, it's not, you really got to have to make a deep run in one of the tournaments to make it to the whole end of the year Madden.
Exactly.
So it's pros and cons to it for sure.
All right, now we're gonna take a couple questions from the chat, but let's do it. It doesn't look like many of them give a damn about the actual interview. But Rat did ask Deliverance if the CIA kidnapped him too.
If the CIA kidnapped me?
Yeah.
What does he mean by that? Is there some like meaning behind that?
I need context. Because we can't just have it like, hey, it's like me asking like, hey, Spoon.
Right.
You know, you just like where else? Rat, we need a little bit of context for us to answer this question, because if not, then we kind of got to move on to the other two muck questions.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, bro.
Context, please. Context. Please.
I know that.
I'm an open book.
I know that he told me that he was kidnapped by the CIA, or like he's being watched. He said the CIA kidnapped and forced me to do a movie.
Interesting. So, I mean, I guess what I'll say on that is, well, one, I don't think I've been kidnapped by the CIA, unless it's some it's like Men in Black situation where
like, will you even know? Like, will you even know?
That's a good point. Would you even know? Now, I will say, it's fun. It's fun to dive into like conspiracy theories and things like that. So, is it possible I've been kidnapped? Yes, but do I think I have? No. So. That's what I'll say to that if we don't get any context. That's my final answer for that one.
Yeah, for the record, like, it is proven that Rat is like always high. So
gotcha. So that's
just,
that would make
things,
a little bit of sense. You know? Yeah, that question makes a little more sense now.
All right, and then we got two muck questions. How can I get Michael Irvin's set complete for cheap? I don't know if he knows the answer to that one.
Yeah, that's you, Pwny. That's you can handle that one, man. I'm not a set master,
bro,
per
se. I don't do solos. I don't do sets. I just play the game, bro. That's all I do.
Yeah, I've always tried to make the coins, weekend league, things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And use that to do what I need to do. Never been a solo and set guy.
I use literally all of my weekend league coins on making like the cap team that I was bringing to
Cali
with me, and that was pretty much it. Like, I don't worry about it. I get donations and I rock with that, bro. That's it.
There you go.
All right, we got a question from Chupa 2. Are less mobile QBs going to be schemed out of head-to-head? Hasn't happened yet in my games, but I can sort of see it.
Is he talking like Mud Unlimited?
Yeah.
Or is that, you think that's more so where he's going? I mean, listen, man, there's definitely, we know how Escape Artist works. Now, I tell you what, it's going to be crazy at the end of the year when the overalls get high enough where you can fit, like, you could put an Escape Artist and something like a Hot Route Master on a quarterback. That's when it's going to get wild, and that's when I think I snap the disc at that point, because I'm not putting up with it. I
said that like nearing the end, like towards the end of the year, I think they're gonna end up having it so we can have 4 or 5 abilities on our guys. Like just
it's
look at
gonna
regs.
happen.
You know, like Mahomes has like 6 abilities that you can
Mm-hmm.
rock with. So why wouldn't they
Oh,
do
it's
that?
gonna happen.
You know, they're gonna make more money by doing that, and it's just gonna be the most AIDS thing possible.
It will. It will. That's something I'm gonna stay away from when it gets to that point. So yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, to answer his question specifically, it's gonna depend on your style, gonna depend on how you rock. But I mean, like I said, can you manage without something like an escape artist and have a less mobile quarterback? Absolutely. Is there benefits to having something like an escape artist that is more mobile? Absolutely. Especially when you got something like Dashing Deadeye. But you know,
Dude,
if you're a toter, yeah,
dude,
you'd be fine without it.
All they have to do is fix the throwing motions, and literally pocket QBs have a life. You know
True.
what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why the people who aren't using aren't using the mobile QBs, they're going to Aaron Rodgers because that quick release.
Exactly.
So, yep, you're right.
All right, question from the King War. Do you think special move abilities should be given better animations or a better chance to complete the special move being triggered? I kind of like that question, honestly, because it's like,
Interesting.
you know, because you got a lot of runs, but I feel like if they do fix them, I feel like the run game, I think that's catering to the run game, that's not what we want right now. You know what I mean?
And I mean that's why you're seeing things like in the current pass that just released today, where they're toning down those special moves. You know what I'm saying? Where now users can't get faked out and things of that nature. So I think EA's aware they're trying to bring more balance to it. So, you know, me personally, do I sit there and think that they need to be like more effective or trigger better animations? Not necessarily. I mean, because like I said, we've seen how crazy some of those things have been in the past. So I definitely think we need to head towards a little bit more of a balanced feel for it. But, you know, obviously things like ratings, if you have a high enough rating, yeah, you know, your spin move should look a little crisper than someone who doesn't, which, you know, it is the case, you know, now to a certain extent. But yeah, I'm not trying to really let abilities get too much better.
All right. And we got it's not really a question. Icon615 wants you to describe your play style.
Describe my play style, boy. Okay, that's a good question.
That's a very good one, honestly.
Yeah, so I mean, like kind of like RG and all them were saying on the stream, I definitely describe it as balanced. You know, if you look at what I've done the past 3 years, I've always described myself as being somebody similar to Problem in that I do like to control the clock and then be able to let my defense win games. You know, even when I was in trips tight end offset, I was still running read option and 0-1 trap 80% of the time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm definitely a guy who likes to control the clock. It doesn't have to be with running. Running has just been when I've been able to do it. And then obviously, especially with this year, it's, you know, even more so true. But definitely, I would say a balanced player that likes to lean on his defense. That's definitely how I would describe my style.
Now, don't get mad at me, but I did call you because the way that I look at your offense, like the way you play, I was like, Deliverance is a great value Dreeny. Meaning, like you obviously don't have the accolades to, you know, to go to sit there and be like, hey, I'm one of the top Madden players and blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. But you and Dreeny play literally, like you guys play so similar when it comes to actually playing.
Yeah, like, we're not pretty. We're not pretty. No, I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, you guys are gritty. Like you guys are in there running down your opponent's throat, and then when you need a pass, you're able to complete it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like you guys will hop and shotgun, but you'll also sit there and run the ball consistently and heavily too. Do you know what I mean? And it's like just one of those things, man, that you like. That is honestly what I think has helped you literally come back and make you a 3-time champion, because it's like everybody's like, you look at Skimbo and he's only passing. So once you stop Skimbo's pass, if you can, obviously don't mind you, Skimbo's literally one of the best passers of all time. But it's like once you stop his pass, he's kind of cooked. Once you stop Kiv's pass, he's kind of cooked. Once you stop 80% of the people in clubs runs, they're cooked. They have
exactly.
They have nothing else.
That's why I feel like being balanced is the best thing. You know, the people that I struggle with most are the ones that, you know, because listen, every great player is gonna, even if you don't even consider yourself one of the better, like, you know, defensive players, defensive minds, the bottom line is once you find the bag for something, if your opponent's not switching to something else to make you rethink, and you're just able, there it is, you already found the bag, then you're just going to keep running it, and it's going to keep getting stopped. So, I mean, I definitely agree where, like, I think having a balanced approach and being able to do both is obviously a better way to keep your opponent, you know, on their toes and catch them with something.
Yeah, it's definitely huge. Now, question from Rat to kind of change the subject just for a quick second. Has Deliverance ever done body shots off a 300-pounder?
No, not off a 300-pounder. It's always been a good looking girl. Okay, it's never been a 300-pounder.
Slim thick, baby. Let's get it. Let's go, bro.
Oh, good stuff.
All right, question from Joker Grin. Is that even possible with archetypes, escape artist, and hot route master together? I don't think that's an actual. I don't think I think further on throughout the year, once you have the right stats put together, obviously EA is going to control that, Joker, but it's definitely one of those things where EA is going to make it so that only like 1 or 2 quarterbacks will ever be able to get that. Do you know what I mean?
Right, exactly. It's going to be like when we're approaching that 95 plus overall, 98, 99, like that's when I think you're going to be able to see both of them. I'd be shocked if I did not see by the end of this year a quarterback that can do both of those things. I'd be shocked on EA's part if I didn't see that.
All right, now we
we'll
actually
see.
I was streaming yesterday or the day before yesterday, and I had a question. Well, Ace Boogie asked a question, and he wanted me to ask how does it feel to be the least respected 3-time club winner?
Well,
and this was no cap or anything. This is like
sure.
Simply like again, it's just like how, you know what I mean? Like you're 3-time winner, and still people kind of don't value you as like a really, really good player and stuff like that.
Well, here's the deal. Like what he just said is okay. The least respected 3-time winner. Well, the bottom line is there's only 3 to 4 3-time winners, so that's kind of putting me in limited company. So to be honest with you, I really don't. It's not that big of a deal if I'm the least respected out of that list, because I mean, obviously, listen, that's an awesome list. I mean, you got Joke, who's arguably one of the best people who maybe haven't won a belt. He's always put in that whole discussion. Pavon just won the club series last year, and then obviously you have a name like Dreamy, who's won the overall title the other year and things like that. So I'm not going to take that personal. I might even agree with him, but what I am going to say is I can also beat any one of those guys, and they could easily beat me. So that's what I've always said about myself, especially with Madden, the fluke and things that are involved. I feel like I could beat anyone in the world. I also feel like I could lose to all those same guys that I feel like I can beat. So really don't have a problem. I feel like that's an accurate statement. I'm going to go ahead and agree with them on that. I got no issues with that.
Yeah, like they kind of wanted me to put like the emphasis, like, yo, like I'm not capping or anything like that.
For sure.
It's simply like I just wanted to ask the question because it's true. You know what I mean? Like you got like when you're in company with Pavon, who won literally all of clubs, and he's made it 3 times in a row since he's been able to compete. Dreeny's been on a huge tear, and Joke obviously has a resume that speaks for itself. It's like it's just one of those things where it's like Deliverance is up there. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just
right.
like
No. Yeah, I got you. No,
Pinter's
like
up
I said.
there. You know.
right.
And we got a question from Kobo9573. Ask him why
Kobo.
does he like 335 odd this year? That's honestly, I was confused. I was like, why is he in that?
Yeah, and I'll tell you exactly why. The reason I was in 335 odd, obviously we remember last year that was the meta, right? Before Contains got patched, 335 odd was the heat, that was the screamer. Through last year, I was able to find run gaps for just about any formation out of 335 odd. So the whole main reason for me why I went with the Miami playbook that had that in it was because of tight slots. I had an instant backfield gap. You'll see the one time that I think it was lockdown, switch into it, I literally threw Apke in the backfield, clicked off, and boom, hit him in the backfield. Joel, in that game, it was actually, I don't know why my run gaps weren't working, and that's part of the reason why I had to go to nickel normal, but that's really the reason behind it, is because when you in those meta formations like tight slots and things like that, it was a pretty much instant gap. I knew where to put my, put Apke or put Palomalu and hit the gap. And literally, probably even a bigger reason I kept it is because that was the bag to lock down QB draw with Lamar Jackson. I left both people on a loop, threw my slot in a spy. Sometimes I'd leave them in a zone, and by doing that and having a play flipped a certain way, it was bagged. He'd have to bounce to the outside, and by that point in time, I had my secure tackler on Lamar. So to be honest with you, that's probably even the biggest reason, is just that's what I found was the bag to that 5-wide draw.
Okay, that's actually really good insight. Thank you. I mean, I could probably put a video on that next. Thank you. So
yeah, you could.
And last question that I'm going to take from the chat comes from AJ. Out of the many things the MCS needs to fix, name the one thing you change if you could.
Oh man, that's actually a super good question. For me personally, obviously, with most competitors, listen, the more money, the better, right? The more money you can feed into the prize pool, obviously, the more it's going to be sustainable and things like that. It's going to make people want to go and do this. The other thing is, I've always been a fan of throwing in one more tournament. I liked it back in Madden 17 where we kind of had the 4 main tournaments, whereas now I kind of feel like it's, there's the classic, but then you got clubs in the challenge, and then there's LCQ, which is kind of like an abbreviated tournament. I'd like
Yeah.
to maybe see that turn into another full blown tournament.
Yeah, because dude, the LCQ is like literally like last year at least, it literally like the hardest tournament to get through.
I didn't make I didn't make the top 32 on the Xbox boards. I mean, it was hell. It was hell, and at that point, gameplay last year was annoying without the contained Mars running around anyways. But yeah, it's hell, man. When you tell people, hey, this is your last shot, give a chance, at that point, even people that hadn't been playing, they feel so comfortable on the game because they know everything meta wise, they know this and that. So yeah, it's totally hell. I'd like to see that turned into a full blown tournament versus just kind of a quick little one to get 1 or 2 more people in that end of the Madden Bowl. So
plus they only take 4 people from that tournament.
Right,
which is crazy to me. And in itself, it's like, who was it last year? I think it was 6 cents.
6 cents in Penguins, Chicharito.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think that was and then some serious though. I think that those were, I don't remember who the 4th was, but I think in the final game, I think it was some serious first Penguin / Chicharito, and some serious got in off of that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
That's insane. But it's like something like that, dude. It's such a hard road, and it's like then you got clubs. Then you got clubs, which are 4 people that you're bringing from both sides, and it's right. Like, how is that fair to make like that tournament? It's the hardest tournament to me, at least. It's the hardest tournament of the year, besides the final bracket for clubs, obviously.
Of course,
you got literally 32 goons up there, pretty much battling it out.
No, I'd agree, absolutely.
Now, on another note, you ended up playing Ish, and I know like when that matchup was announced, apparently there was a lot of tension between you guys, like at some point in time. Can you also there was a video that was circulating through Twitter, and I was like, what happened there?
Sure. And I'll get a little background without like calling it out, because we did hash it out. But basically back before Madden, it was right when it was like EA Play, and they were releasing the superstar abilities and things like that, and they were showing Patrick Mahomes like just outrunning everyone behind the line. I made a couple comments. I was like, my typical thing, I'm one of the more outspoken people. I'll put my tweets out there. So I was like, oh man, that doesn't look real. Like, they can't get red chems right. Like, that looks like a problem. And I put like 2 consecutive tweets, and then it basically just, he hit me up with like, he commented on the post. He's like, bro, like, just shut the fuck up. Kind of one of those things real quick. And I was kind of like, whoa, what's going on? And then it just turned into, I don't like you, this and that, talking smack to me for no reason, said something about my girl. And then that we got matched up with the classic. I beat him, stood up, and I'm like, that's what you get for saying those things. And, obviously he was upset he lost, and then it just turned into, whoa, I was willing to shake your hand. Why'd you have to call me out for that? And then, and then that's what you saw in the video. That was, I was like, bro, how you get mad at me? And that's exactly what you saw. And then,
because without context, it looks like he won, but you actually beat him.
Right, yeah, and it was an overtime game. We both stopped each other like twice in OT. It was a wild one, and I walked off. I squeaked out a read option and got in there. And so, yeah, it was a close one. And then we matched up again during a double, and he got me. We were both 2-0, and he got me. It was a close game, 14-7. I had possession catch in the back of the end zone, got a bad animation, and then was able to scramble for a first. So, and then right around that time, that's when he reached out. He's like, hey, man, listen, sorry for the things I said before. We're cool. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm always people that I'm like, it's just, you apologize, anything like that, I'm always willing to work through it, even if there was the biggest beef there to begin with. So, and then everything was cool up at Club Series. Obviously, when we were all there in person, it was a fun group, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. We all, obviously, with all being Steelers fans too, we had that thing in common. So,
oh yeah, you guys were. I think that might have been the only club that had like everybody in there was a Steelers fan.
Yeah,
like,
you're right. So,
like, hey, I'm choosing the easier route and going
100%. 100%.
That's actually super dope, because you guys all have that in common, obviously. So it's like.
Exactly. So, that's
super,
context
super
on
dope.
that.
All right, now I'm gonna ask the underrated question first. Nate, give me one underrated Madden player in your opinion.
Oh man, Man, you're gonna have to give me a minute to step back and think about this one. I mean,
Nah,
yeah, because I did see that whole discussion.
no, because we're gonna go, and you got to give me an overrated one too, which might hurt somebody's feelings. So.
Man, put me on the hot seat for this one.
We got to put you on the spot one time, you know.
Let me think here for a minute for an underrated Madden player. Gee. And this is gonna be tough. I'm like thinking through my mind, like club winners, things like that, all that. I would say, okay, for an underrated underrated player. Man, it's hard to say just one. I almost want to say the whole crew. I would say, I'd probably say I'm gonna go with D Crofter Fancy. I'm gonna say D Crofter Fancy. I think these are, and the thing about it too is though they haven't been around a long time, so I think that kind of has to do with maybe not being too aware, but. I'm telling you what, man, that TNC crew, I have a history with these guys. It was a whole relationship because Ace Madden, they're kind of their leader that kind of put them all together. He had a tournament back in 18, and there was heavy cap at every one of them. I'm like, you're trash, you're nothing, and then sure enough, these guys come out. Jay Wall's beating Skimbo. I mean, everything like that.
Off, man, I gotta start playing on Xbox, or I gotta get some PlayStation guests because like I've never played against D-Croft or Fancy, mind you. Yeah. So it's like
these guys, when you consider how run heavy the game is and how hard it is to pass, these guys can still do it at such a high level. You know what I mean? And so, like I said, I was just laughing at Croft the other day. Even I mean, these guys are incredible. The reads that they're making, I'm kind of like, how the hell are you throwing this thing right now? You got me, you giving me a headache right now. Like I don't even know what to do, and I consider myself one of the elite adjusters mid game, and I'm just like, I'm lost. What do you want me to do here? So there's probably some other names there, but I'm throw those names out there for my answer for that.
Okay. Now, give me one overrated Madden player.
Overrated Madden player. Okay. Let's see here. Man, overrated. This is gonna be tough. This is gonna be tough because it's like you said, you definitely don't want to hurt any feelings. But it's gonna be hurt regardless.
It is. That's just how the Madden community is, bro.
Let me think here for a minute.
I'm gonna tweet your answer, by the way.
Yeah, I feel I'm thinking of all these names and things that are up here. This is tough for me because I feel like honestly a lot of the people that are put up there as being more elite, kind of, I mean they sort of proved it. I'm never gonna say any name, the Kiv, Joke, or any of those guys. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna use the argument of not having a belt. Man, overrated. See, all right. So here's the thing for overrated. Man, this is just tough. I'm trying to think in my brain. Okay, if I have to throw a name out there, overrated, I would say I'm gonna go ahead and say Spoto. I'm gonna throw that name out there. Okay,
Spoto as overrated.
I'm gonna throw that one out there, and it's just simply for the fact of I feel like there's I don't know. It's hard. I mean, it's hard to say. I just feel like for some reason I don't see him getting over the hump to potentially winning a belt. Not that I'm even sitting here saying I might get over that hump myself, but in terms of, I guess, the following in kind of the recognition of the name compared to what I think will transpire as the Maddens go on, I guess I would throw that one out there. But obviously, you can't argue with what he did last year. Taking down Skimbo, making that late push, doing everything he did. I mean, he had a great year last year. But when I'm thinking back to both, 18 and this year, I think that was a little bit more quiet. I would say that. But like I said, I put in my post the other day, I'd be one of the first people to eat my words and admit I was wrong. But you're putting me on the spot. That's just the name that popped into my head.
No, but I rather you be honest about it than sit there and give me an answer that's like you actually sat there and thought about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. Instead of just this guy because of this, blah, 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 you actually put a little thought into it and gave me a solid answer. Now, mind you, in defense of Spoto, this year at least, I know that he's in college, and we all know how college life is and how crazy that shit can get. But at the same time, people like you and myself, I have kids, you don't, but full-time job, girlfriend, and that's a lot of maintenance in itself.
For sure.
We did it. You know what I mean? We got there, and I actually, and you saying that Spoto's overrated, it kind of shits on my club win. You know what I mean? Because he's the one I beat to get to
Was
to
it? Okay.
yeah, he actually was.
I gotcha. Yeah, and once again, I just want to reiterate, he is a hell of a player. The fact, like, listen, the names that were even going through my head, you obviously have to be somewhat one of the more elite players to even, have crossed my mind just now, because those are the people that are flying through. So, like I said, I am just simply saying in terms of, like, the following he has and, like, just that he's one of the names out there, I don't think that the performance or anything has necessarily lived up to that. Outside of last year, of course, because I can't take that away. But so that's my logic behind it. I still think he's a hell of a player. He's definitely, he's definitely up there for sure. But, compared to the following, I would say.
All right, now before I get to like these Twitter questions, I wanted to ask, how you feeling going up against Joke for the rematch? It's 1-1 right now. This is big time, dude. This is a big time game.
Listen, I'll flat out be honest with you. It sucks to have to play him in round one. I mean, this is no. I mean, Joke is no joke. The problem is, dude, EMB, they got so many members. They're gonna get so many looks, so many reps. You got 20 different pairs of eyes looking at my film, figuring out what's gonna stop me. That's really where I feel like why some of these crews are so good, because they just have so many different minds that they're putting together. Listen, I know Joke's going to be prepared. I mean, so as far as how I feel about it, do I feel confident? Yes. Do I feel worried? Yes. You know what I mean? Because I just know it's going to be prepared. I expect this to be a bang out. Obviously Joke's been toting all year. I could see him trying to switch something up last minute, to be honest with you, but that's still going to be the base of his game. I feel like I do have really good run D, so I think it's gonna be an interesting game, man. I think it's gonna be a hell of a chess match. So I mean, it's but I'm ready for it. It's fun. It's fun rubber matches. It's 1-1. We'll see what happens.
Okay, now, do you think he's actually gonna? Cause wait, hold on. Before I actually ask this, are you guys playing on the previous patch, or are you guys playing on the patch that just dropped?
No, I believe they said in the email, if I'm not mistaken, we are not playing on the patch that just dropped today. I believe we're playing on the patch that I played on for the Steelers Club for the AFC and NFC North. We're going to be playing on that patch.
Then I doubt he changes his scheme much, to be honest with you.
Right, exactly. I mean, I expect now with the cap being raised, that's the difference though, because that is a new ball game. Even though we're not playing on the new patch, it's basically what that means is really that jukebox and all those type of things are still super effective. So I'm interested to see if he's going to go ahead and add something like that on his Dickerson, or do something like that, maybe throw an escape artist in there just to feel like he needs it, to have it when he needs it. So that's kind of more so what I'm talking about, switching things up versus his scheme itself. It's just adding those players.
Now, another question before we get to the Twitter ones. I haven't peeped you streaming at all, man. What's going on with that?
Right. Yeah. So, obviously, to be honest with you, the whole reason with that is just this year I just wanted to keep. I did start to kind of understand what advantages and things there are to it. A little bit of it's laziness too, just to be honest with you. So there's a couple different parts to it. So one is like trying to hide things. Okay. Two is just a little bit of laziness, because once I was streaming heavy in 18 and like early 19, there's a lot more work into it than people realize. If you want to be a good one, at least interact with the chat and do things. It does take a little bit of effort. And then, to be honest with you, I haven't been playing a lot of Madden this year, especially because the salary cap ladders were so broke, damn broke with that juice bar. I was terrified to play. I was sitting there, I saw a couple people passing me in the Steelers Club, and I'm like, oh boy, if I lose, I might jump back 100 spots, like the way that it was that it was going. You know what I'm saying?
It was really that bad.
It was. So that's another reason too. And then lastly, the last reason is that having a sponsor and stuff this year, I gotta keep my cool. And I know on stream I tend to lose my shit a little bit. So that was half the reason, because listen, I can't help it. I'm gonna end up calling someone a bum. I'm gonna say words I shouldn't say. So I better off just not being on stream.
Listen, it's part of the sport, all right? It's part of streaming. They will understand. They do it in football all the time.
And that's what I try to say. I'm like, if you heard some of the words that were said to me on the football field, this stream is nothing.
Exactly. It's like, bro, nothing. That's not gonna change anything. All right, we're gonna take some questions from Twitter now. Well, we only got Technically 4. All right.
Okay.
This one comes from Buy My Premium. Should EA switch Madden to every other year when it comes to releasing the game? Take a year to make the current title great, then use those improvements to make the next title better. That way, we have a more complete product.
So yeah, I saw that question, and that's an interesting question because I've seen that asked in the past. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I'd be surprised if it did, just because of the money it brings in, the habit we're in of having a new game come out the hunger, like, oh, it's a new game and this and that. I don't see it. I don't see it happening. However, do I think it's a good idea? Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that there's some pros and that are involved with that. Obviously, the more time you have to develop a game, I mean, yeah, you would think it'd be a better product, but then you have to look at, if they never did come out with a new game, we would be sitting in this patch habit of, like, literally for an entire year it would, from patch to patch to patch, and the game would be changing so much as is. So like I said, there's pros and cons to it. It's an interesting topic. I personally don't see it ever happening, but if it did, it would be interesting.
I also feel like with EA not being, like, I've always said this. I've said that EA is like, they're not a competent, like their developers are just bad when it comes to actually a patch up job, which literally a lot of other like developing companies, like they just, like Fortnite, and I always use Fortnite as the example. Something breaks in Fortnite. Now, mind you, Fortnite, like, the online portion is still in beta mode, but even while that is in beta mode, like the actual Fortnite game, like the Enter the World or whatever it's called, they patch that as well, and they patch that, like, as soon as something gets broken within the game. I mean, it's addressed right then and there, and literally within that week or the next week, it's patched. Madden, for some reason, just doesn't have that ability, because you break one thing, you're breaking 10 other players that are on the field if you fix one AI. Like, one piece of the AI gets broken, you fix that, it breaks another piece of the AI, and Madden doesn't have the capacity to actually fix that. Resources, they have the resources, but
and I think that's where such a big part of the frustration from this community comes from, because it's like, we know that there's like a multi-billion dollar company. Like, for me, like, the phrase I always say is, I'm sitting there and I'm like so many obvious things, like last year, the fall forward patch, right? It was like, in the play call screen stuttering. Like, for me, I feel like they're such obvious things. It does make you question the competence at times, where it's like, do you not test your own game? Like, because I saw this within the first 2 seconds I put the game in. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I think a lot of frustration is. And to be honest with you, like, EA can help themselves so much more if they had more open communication. Because, I mean, really, outside of Kralo, I mean, we're kind of left in the dark about half the things that are going on.
And that's it. And then, like, you get like like, I know when Clint wasn't blocking people and stuff like that. He currently has been blocked, by the way. He was like, he would, like, the way Rex's job was, like, when Rex was there, people were coming at him all the time. I'm sure Rex has his number of blocked people too.
Oh yeah.
But it's like, it's like how are you blocking pro players that have issues with the game? They're pros for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, he's blocked professional, like, players that make live events. All because, 100%. All because they have a legitimate gripe with the game. Like, that. I'm sorry, but you should have thicker skin than that, being literally the head developer at EA. Now, I know decisions come from obviously higher ups and stuff like that, but like, you shouldn't sit there and troll people and then get mad and block them when they're sitting there angry at something that you did wrong with the game. I think that's it's a coward move, in my opinion.
Like, well, when they're, like you said, when they're legitimate gripes and they're not just simply bashing for the sake of bashing and being toxic, I mean, then those are situations where it's like, you can't be blocking people for that. But then, when you do have your trolls that are just there, like, on every single post that they do, is like bashing it, that's another story. But once again, I feel like if lines of communication were open, though, and if they were to respond to our gripes and be like, hey, listen, like, okay, this is maybe why we can't fix it yet, or things like that, not just give us the generic, we're working on it, patch will be soon, you know what I mean, be a little bit personal about it and open, I think so much of the animosity in this community, the toxicness, would literally go away. So much of it would. But, who knows what decisions they're being told by the higher ups. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on it.
All right, next Twitter question comes from AJ Jed. What's your guys' favorite way to prep for clubs and or tourneys when you get the time? Whether it be labbing with a friend versus CPU, maybe DC. All right, well, for me at least, I just like to play. Like, regardless of who I'm playing, I just like to get reps in. Like, simply. Yeah. And then, like, right before a tournament, I don't touch Madden. I play Skyrim. Which is the weirdest thing for people to hear.
Dude, I'm literally, Pwny, I'm 100% with you. That's the exact same answer I would have given. Except I wouldn't say Skyrim, even though I do know that game. It's a good one. But basically for me, I play as many games as possible. And yeah, kind of when you, like, if I did bring my system with me, if I'm in the hotel room or, I'll throw Drag or I'll play Rocket League, like something to actually keep my mind off of Madden.
Yeah,
I'm one of those people that might overthink.
Yeah, same, dude. And like, mind you, for clubs, I was on Mutthead, and I have literally made like 300 different lineups. Like, like that's how I was on Mutthead every single day. I get off work, I get on stream, and I have Mutthead open. Just in case I see a player that makes a play and I'm like, I wonder if I can use a lesser version of him, like a lesser powered up version, just so I could put him on my cap team. Or it's just one of those things. And honestly, it makes me feel better. You know what I mean? It's kind of like taking something that that for a fact is going to help you guys out. It's like kind of like a placebo effect where it's like, hey, I'm doing this. It might not help, but in my mind, it's helping. Right.
Yeah. No. And like I said, I totally agree with you, because I think sometimes, you can fall into that habit of like over stressing, overthinking. Like, when you can just be literally like not stressing or maybe getting reps in. We're sitting here on, on Mutthead trying to figure out all these little intricacies of this and that. Whereas like, like I said, I feel like sometimes it's counterproductive to do that. So I'm with you, man. Get as many reps in as you can. When it does come time, maybe a week or so leading up to like fly out for a tournament or something, if you do have a scouting report on your opponent, get those couple lab games with the crewmates and be like, hey, like run this for me, let me just see if this works, like, but I'm not going to sit there and like just literally lab and more of get the games in, take a little break, de-stress, and then we'll worry about it when we get there.
Exactly. Now, this question comes from our very own B-Guard. Does anyone from his place of work know he plays Madden at a high level? And then like a little sub-question from Big Cap. Has anyone from work seen any of his clips? I don't know what clips he's talking about, but we'll just answer B-Guard's question.
Yeah, so so obviously 100% people from work know I play this at a high level. I actually, when I got back in town, I went ahead and sent a message out to my whole school, like, hey, here's the link for my last tournament if y'all want to know how I did. And it's cool, man. The support from my school is just awesome. Like, I had the principal the other day being like, hey, we're proud of you, buddy. Like, you know what I mean? They're not sitting over here like, why are you taking time off of work doing? I mean, they think it's the coolest thing, and they know how hard this is, and they know the money involved too. It's like, hey, if you can pick up a couple extra $1,000, like doing something you love, like, we're all for it. The other side of that is obviously, as a psychologist, as long as I'm meeting my deadlines, I don't have cases that are like pending and they're about to be due, like, there's not really going to be a problem. For Kep's question, what he's talking about my rage clips from like back when I would stream and stuff, which is one of the reasons why I don't. Exactly. So no, I don't think they have, and thank God they haven't, because especially back in Madden 18, before I realized that I was even getting any type of popularity and that people were even interested in what like I was saying or doing on stream, realizing like that was kind of my moment of, that was my rookie moment of like realizing, okay, like I'm out there, like all this stuff is out there, you know what I mean? So no, they haven't seen those, and like I said, it's one of the reasons why I'm not doing it anymore, so I don't have any more of those moments of telling a guy F you or this and that. So
bro, mine is the opposite with work though. Like yours, everybody's like congratulating you. Mine, everybody's like when I first like told them like, hey, like I'm going to Cali to for what? I'm like, to go play video games. Like I'm in a tournament, and they're like, that's the most nerdy shit I've ever heard. I'm just like, what? Right. Like I'm going to play for money. Like it's not. Like I'm playing for a paycheck pretty much. Like what? Like how is that a nerdy thing? And then I come back because no one really like I don't really talk to people at work from like streaming or playing Madden and stuff like that. Gotcha. There's like a select few, but like I come back and apparently everybody watched the tournament and they're like, dude, you got so cheated. And I mind you, these are people that don't even play Madden.
Mm-hmm.
And are like, you got cheated, you got cheated, you got cheated. And it was just,
Yeah.
maybe next time, you know?
Yeah. And that's what you're speaking to as far as like maybe the support versus the unsupport. Like I think the big thing is like when you see it, when you actually see the product and see the production quality and see that like, oh wow, this is like a big deal. Like when you see the excitement in like RG's voice, like it makes it all sink into where you're like, okay, it's not just that generic thought in your head of like picturing you in a dark room, like sitting there holding a controller
in a basement.
Like, right, exactly. Like it kind of makes it like, so you get it, like it clicks and you're like, oh, okay, this isn't this nerdy, just I'm gonna go play video games with friends like all the way across the country type of thing. Like, so I think that's a big piece of it.
All right, last question from Goss, who's my guy. I'm pretty sure he's one of your boys too.
Oh,
is
yeah.
Is it hard to find time to balance between work and Madden? I'll let you answer this one first.
Sure. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of factors that go into this, having a supportive girlfriend, all the things like that. Do I think it's hard? Maybe not for me. In the general grand scheme of things, do I think it can be hard for some people? Absolutely. But, the way that my, schedule's set up is pretty much I'm home every day at 3:30. I'm also waking up, early as hell. We start work at like quarter to 8. Like I'm getting up at like 6:30 a.m. Like, so that the benefit of working for the school system, you are off a little earlier. So, I'm home at 3:30. Like, so I got from then until, whenever I need. I usually play up until like 8, 9 o'clock, go to the gym for an hour. It's been a little bit different with the whole shoulder surgery and things like that, and playing Madden a little more. But, I think it can be hard for some people. Like I said, I think there's a lot of factors that go into it. But for me, per se, I don't think it's a hard balance to be like, oh, God, I don't have enough time to play Madden, not enough time to be good. Because like I said, going back to our other point, Pwny, is like I think there's a point where you can be overplaying the game and almost doing yourself more harm than good. So
definitely.
Like I get my couple wins in per day. Like today, hopped on the draft ladder, got a win, jumped up 10 spots. All right, off for the day. I'm gonna go run, eat dinner. That's it.
Yeah. Honestly, like that's why streaming is kind of tough, because it's like I could hop on, and I mind you, I always lose my first game. That's just a reality for me, at least. And then I'll go like on a 6-game win streak, and then I'll get to the point where I'm just like, you're kind of like Madden out. Like you're just like, you just don't really care about it anymore. And you're just like going through the motions. Like, all right, I'm going to run left, run right.
Exactly.
Streak is open. All right, cool. GG's. Next game. And it's just, it just gets like, it just kind of, I wouldn't say boring, but it just gets repetitive, I guess, like doing the same,
for sure.
Because you're not going to
100%.
change up schemes like that. And that's why I try my best to change up schemes from time to time, just so I don't get bored with Madden.
Yeah, keep it fresh. For sure.
Well, yeah, Deliverance, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast, man. That's how we're gonna end it. We took some.
Awesome.
I know last time when I did it with Cole, they were like, "Oh, you guys didn't talk to the chat at all," and blah blah blah. So we actually took some questions from the chat. Hopefully, the shoulder is feeling good. Hopefully,
Appreciate
you're prepared to face Joke, because dude, everybody's looking forward to that game, honestly, because to me that's kind of like a rivalry game too. Like with you,
right,
Joke,
it's shaping up to be that. So make sure everyone in the chat. It's coming up on Tuesday. It's gonna be the AFC. So let's get it. Appreciate you having me on, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, of course, man. Pleasure.
All right, Pwny. Take care, brother.
Take care, my man. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the podcast, man. That will be up on Friday for those of you guys that are still in the Twitch chat. And yeah, man, as always, YouTube, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. If you guys are enjoying the content, especially lately, I've been dropping a bunch of crap. Like, comment, subscribe, stay tuned, hit the bell for the notifications, and we'll be back. Also, this game right here is the Thursday. We're going to be doing the Thursday night games. I'm thinking about switching it to the Sunday night games. These are Thursday games, but the podcast goes on Friday. So, like, some of you guys might want to place your bets. We are 1-for-1 currently. Last podcast, I believe it was the Cowboys that got beat by the other team. And, yeah, y'all be easy as always. 2 fingers, deuces. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.